Lesson 1. Line, shape, form. This presentation has been prepared as part of project Boosting Positive Narrative on Romani Integration through Arts. The elements of art are sort of like atoms, and they serve as building blocks for creating something. In art, you have these building blocks: line, shape, form, space, texture, value, and color. Artists manipulate these 7 elements, mix them in with principles of design, and compose a piece of art. Not every work of art contains every one of these elements, but at least 2 are always present. The elements of art are important for several reasons. First, and most importantly, a person can't create art without utilizing at least a few of them. Secondly, knowing what the elements of art are enables us to describe what an artist has done, analyze what is going on in a particular piece, and communicate our thoughts and findings using a common language. Distinct kinds of lines may be utilized in painting, and an artist can use them in a variety of ways and for various purposes. Here are some examples of how lines may be used. Artists can create an image with just one line by sketching, pointing, and drawing with lines. Before painting on an art panel, use lines to define things, outline forms, and set out a composition. All shading techniques rely on the usage of lines, whether they're straight or curved or cross-hatching, for example. They are all employing different sorts of lines to portray depth, tone, and texture, such as longer strokes or variation of strokes. Shape, tone, texture, and value are all reliant on lines in art. Lines can be used alone to create depth to a painting in addition to shading methods. To create the appearance of three-dimensional objects and space, manipulate a line by blending it, changing its thickness, and so on. Line method can be seen in etching, engraving, and print media. Lines are the most useful auxiliary tool. Lines are drawn using the grid approach, while shapes and objects are constructed using working linear perspective. With the assistance of a basic pattern of lines, an artist decorates with lines. Lines are frequently used in abstract painting. When a line curves around and crosses itself or intersects other lines to enclose a space, it creates a shape. A shape is two-dimensional. It has height and height but no depth. It has one boundary and a single surface. One of the 7 components of art, shapes are the building blocks that artists use to create images on canvas and in our minds. Other art components such as lines, values, colors, and textures establish a shape's borders, and adding value can transform a shape into an illusion of its three-dimensional cousin form. Shapes may be found everywhere, and every item has one. A form is created in 2 dimensions, length and width, while painting or sketching. You may add value to make it appear 3-dimensional by adding highlights and shadows. In art, there are 2 sorts of shapes, geometric and organic. Geometric shapes are precise and sharply defined. Many of them are easy to recognize, such as circles, squares, and triangles. We often see such shapes in architecture. Also, many manufactured and handmade products are based on geometric shapes. Nature shows us some geometric shapes and forms too. Honeybees make combs whose cells are in the shape of a hexagon, and an orange resembles the form of a sphere. Squares, circles, and triangles are among the mathematical geometric shapes. Organic shapes are irregular or asymmetrical. Although you may recognize certain geometric shapes in nature, most natural objects have organic shapes. Organic shapes reflect the free-flowing aspects of growth. They are curved or rounded and appear in a variety of informal and irregular shapes. The form of a pear is organic. So too is the shape of a maple leaf. Form is a three-dimensional single object in space and one of the 7 components of art. Painting's physical character is sometimes described by the term form. Form is a three-dimensional painting element that encloses volume and has length, width, and height, as contrast to shape, which is two-dimensional or flat. Forms usually have weight and solidity. The forms can be classified into 2 categories. Equilateral, in this case, the form's shapes are set and are mostly based on geometric shapes such as circles and cubes. These forms are less intellectually stimulating and have a monotonous appearance. The most common use of geometric shapes is in architecture. Asymmetrical. These shapes are free of geometrical bonds and alter in physical form. The forms also may be split into 2 categories, tangible and intangible. It is simple to convey both direct and indirect forms. These shapes are more difficult to balance, but they are more intriguing. Now, let's move on to the next topic related to the basics of the perspective.